All right, let me just make sure we're good on Facebook. Yeah, lucky I was I'm down in Cape May still right now, and I have Roku down here. So I saw the game was going to be on the Roku channel today. So I was like, oh, lucky me.
Are we good to go yet?
Yep.
All right, and welcome back to the Paisan Sports podcast presented by Elevation 5280 Sports. Dante DePlacido joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I've got to ask, what's the deal with Roku? What? First of all, why do they have a streaming service? And secondly, why is an MLB game being streamed exclusively on it? It's basically saying, hey, unless you own a Roku, sorry, you're shit out of luck. Can't watch the game. Thanks, MLB. That's real awesome. So I missed the whole game because it's on the Roku streaming service. Why does that?
It's like $40, dude. It's like a one-time fee of $40. I'm pretty sure it's not even expensive.
What for the streaming service? No, the streaming service. I tried to download the streaming app. I couldn't find it. I think it's just exclusively on the physical Roku device, which I do not own.
Yes, and that's like a one-time fee. You pay for that, and then
I'm not going to buy a Roku just to watch a Phillies game. That's too much.
All right, that's your fault. But I had the Roku hookup, so I was able to watch the game. So I didn't have any complaints besides Aaron Nola getting teed off on after coming back from the IR. It was good to see him come back from the injury. How long did it end up being? Was that 3 months?
Was it? I mean, yeah, he was out a while. That might be right.
It was May, wasn't it?
Because I'm trying to think when Mick Abel made his first start, and that feels like
his last start before injury. It says his game logs today, obviously August 17th versus the Nationals, but before then was May 14th versus the Cardinals. So yeah, it was May.
Wow. So. And yeah, he definitely disappointed in his return. That was
when we say somebody's going on like the 15-day IL and they might come back a little bit earlier, you know what I mean? That's like a 2-week span timeline there. Like this dude was on like the 90-day like IL, like he was like really going for like straight up 3 months. So it was good to see him back out there. He looked good from the beginning. I got up early. I mean, this is like the first time in the past couple of years I could remember the Phillies playing at 11:30 a.m. I know other teams like Baltimore and some of the other.
Wait. Hold on. Did you just say you got up early in reference to a game starting at 11:30 a.m.?
What do you? I don't even remember saying that, but I mean,
you just said I got up early.
I probably get up earlier than you do.
Yeah, but watching a game at 11:30 a.m. that doesn't require getting up early.
Justify getting up for the London NFL games as getting up early. The 8:30 starts.
Yeah, if you say 8:30 start, I had to get up early to watch it. That's valid, but 11:30, that's almost the afternoon. We're talking here.
I mean, you're talking to somebody that gets up usually at like 6 o'clock in the morning every day. So I don't really know what you're trying to call me out about, but.
So wait, let me ask you this. What time did you wake up this morning?
I think like 6:45, 7 o'clock.
So that had nothing to do with the game.
All right, whatever. Dude.
That's all I was pointing out. That's all I'm saying here.
If we're going to start going down this rabbit hole, you haven't done this to me in a while. I'm going to come at you with the pronunciations of names and all that because you've messed it up recently. And how you have to shave your hair in a couple weeks because you're a fraud if you don't because of the declaration you made about the Eagles. But we'll talk about that at a later date moving forward. But, yeah, as for the Phillies, I mean, they started off really hot. They got 6 runs right off the bat. Thought it was going to be enough for them to hold over. I think I was looking at the live betting lines, and they were like plus, so I don't even know what favorite. I think they were like plus 14,000 favorites at one point. It was like 6-0 in the top of the second inning. And then the floodgates open for Aaron Nola. It started off where he just a couple guys got on base. And usually that's where the trouble starts. And just I feel like the past like year or two with Aaron Nola, I don't want to be too critical of him because he is coming off a long-term injury, so that might have had an effect on it. But this is just kind of like the same exact player that we saw pre-injury. And this wasn't really an upgrade for us to have to dig into our bullpen this early in a game to get him back from injury. It was almost as if like it would have been better off if he wasn't available to come back from injury and they would have just had another option as a starter today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't get to actually watch the whole game, but from what I saw from, the runs he allowed, it seemed like same old Aaron Nola just serving up meatballs over the plate.
One of them was a 2-run double. He threw like an 87 cutter just like right over the middle of the plate that me and you would probably have an opportunity to hit.
Well, I mean, I know that's a saying. But
I know
we would whiff 100 times on that 87.
I know that you would just completely strike out, and I would hit the ball over the fence.
You would not hit the ball over the fence. You would not make contact at all.
Yeah, I'd make better. I'd have a higher batting average than you, and I'd have more steals.
We would both have a batting average of 0 in the MLB. We could both play an entire season, and we wouldn't get a single hit.
I would be the guy that they would be promoting from AAA, and you would be demoted from the big.
Neither of us would make it out of single A.
No. You're underestimating my.
We would not make it out of the Clearwater.
You're underestimating my ability to draw walks, but that's also one thing just to mention about the Phillies. With I actually like Harrison Bader as a player. I feel like he's just like this ripped dude that just has a lot of energy, that puts a lot into every single play that he makes in baseball. He's a good fielder, but I feel like he doesn't have the best plate discipline. And that kind of showed up a little bit today, too, and at other times since he's been a Philly. But I've been pleased with the additions. We had a little bit of a scare on Friday night, too. Obviously, we're going to talk about today's game a little bit more extensively. But on Friday night, everybody kind of held their breath because Johan Duran took a pitch off the ankle, like the right above his ankle, and it came back pretty quick. Kind of looked like one of those routine plays where you didn't really think too much of it. Like, oh, yeah, that looked painful, but nothing about like someone coming out of the game. And then he looked like he was in a lot of pain. I mean, he ran to first base to cover first base, finished the play. And then after the play happened, he couldn't put like any weight on his foot at all. And it was like a pretty scary.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where just pure adrenaline kicks in, in the moment he takes that line drive off the ankle, adrenaline kicks in, he's able to run, he's able to move. And then once he stops to like evaluate himself, then that's when the adrenaline wears off and the pain is there. You can't put any weight on it. And then you get carted off in the most, what are the Nationals doing? And that should be what's the deal? That stupid cart they bring out.
Well, no, they had to use that cart instead because the other cart was like on the other side of the field, so that was the closest.
Could you imagine, like if you, let's say hypothetically, tore your freaking ACL and they wheel you out of the ballpark? Dude,
why would I care? I'm getting wheeled out regardless. If they wheel me out in one of those,
because it's just
wheel me out I don't care. Get me off the field.
It's insult to injury, but anyhow.
You ever see the dude that's like on the he's like injured and the paramedics come to pick him up and the one guy's like swaddled over top of him and he goes to pick up like the board with the sheet that he's on and he literally drops it and he falls on top of him. As long as that's not happening to me.
I have no idea what.
But it was definitely a scary thing, especially just like what we know with the Phillies. It just seems like when everything's going right, just the baseball gods have to just ruin something. And it always has to be one of the best players, whether it's Bryce Harper or Aaron Nola, who's been a really consistent guy. Might not be one of the best players on the Phillies currently as of right now or moving forward, but as one of the most consistent players on the team. He went out for a while, so that's always a something that you have to overcome too. But the Phillies have been playing well recently, and I want to give a shout out to Trey Turner because his defense isn't getting enough love. He's actually a top 5 metric defensive player this year, and he's also, today he had like 3 hits. He was struggling at the plate post All-Star break, but recently, this past week, he's been a lot better. And I just feel like Trey Turner still doesn't get the love in Philadelphia. But specifically, even if you still listen to WIP Sports Radio, you're not going to hear people glamour over Trey Turner's defense. But I feel like that's the one thing that I will be critical of Philadelphia fans are. At times, I feel like a lot of people don't see the progression. Like they'll keep saying the same narrative about a player, regardless of the regression or progression of that specific narrative that the player's working on. You know what I mean? And how they're getting better in that area. But not only Trey Turner playing great defense. I mean, Edmundo Sosa is also a great defender. I mean, Edmundo Sosa, it's like getting routine for him in the field now. And he just plays all over and he makes all these defensive plays at different positions each time, whether it's third base, second base, if he's ever tasked with playing shortstop on occasions as well. I mean, Edmundo Sosa just steps up offensively and defensively. So to have guys like that in the infield, when you take an injury on like the Alec Boehm injury when he was out, he was also out for a considerable amount of time too. We're talking about Aaron Nola being out. He wasn't out for that long, but I think Alec Boehm was out like pretty much all post All-Star break until now.
He was out even before the All-Star break.
No, it was like it was like the last game before that. It was like July 18th was his last
game. Wow, I thought he was out longer than that. Yeah, and now Alec Boehm's back, and he had a great return game, unlike Aaron Nola. He had a 3-run bomb, had another hit or two. And but what that meant, however, was Adu Kemp got sent back down to AAA, which I was a little upset to see.
Well, you know how we both feel about Weston Wilson. I just don't understand why they continue to have to use Weston.
I'll tell you what, man. I feel the same way as you with Weston Wilson, but he's been swinging it well
through today. I had to give it to him today because I was really frustrated that he was the person that was up with 2 outs and the game tied, and he was the guy that was going to be relied upon to break the game back open for the Phillies, and he actually had a clutch 2-run RBI hit. So I will give that to him. But I mean, I just feel like I would rather have Otto Kemp up here.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Weston Wilson, since August,
he's batting 240 now. I know
he's taken his average. He's gotten his average up from 184 to 233. He's been swinging it better lately. But talking about roster moves, well,
real quickly, let's dive back into the Otto Kemp thing. Why do you think he actually got sent? Why do you think the decision of him specifically to get sent back down? Do you think it was just a totem pole thing? Do you think it's actually a strategical thing where he might actually come back up in September call-ups and they just want him to polish some things so he gets a little bit better and can increase that gap so he can make the playoff roster? Do you think it's a situation like that? Or do you think this is just we've seen enough from Otto Kemp this year? We were happy with what we saw, and maybe he'll make the playoff roster. There's no guarantees, but he's a part of our future.
I think maybe what it is now with Boehm back, right? And you have all these guys in the outfield now, and you have a young, promising player in Otto Kemp. Maybe the way they're looking at it is they would rather have him down in AAA where he can play every day and continue to improve and develop rather than playing sporadically in the MLB.
Do you think he got some bullet time too as well because the Bryce Harper injury happened? That's how he originally got called up, and then the Alec Boehm injury happened as well. So that extended his time.
I think so. I mean that's kind of how it happened.
He probably wasn't going to be up here for a guaranteed long period of time if all those things didn't happen.
Yeah, no, I mean I think you're right about that. I would have liked to have seen him become the everyday left fielder, because they had him playing left field, and I like him a lot better than Max Kepler. I think everybody does.
Yeah, but I feel like the speculation about Max Kepler, he's been bad. He doesn't hit for a high average, but he is one of the guys. I mean, he's still top 5 in extra base hits, as in home runs and providing those type of hits. You don't really get that from any other guys.
Yeah, but there's more bad than good with Max Kepler.
I know. I don't think he should still be a starter, but for everybody thinking that he was just going to get straight up cut in July, I feel like that was always just
Well, that's what I mean, though. I mean, if you're talking about Max Kepler being a bat off the bench, which you've been talking about all season, I wouldn't mind that with Otto Kemp as the starting left fielder. But then they made the trade for Harrison Bader. Bohm comes back from injury, so I think we'll see Kemp back in September. But now, the other roster move with guys returning from injuries that I was hoping to see, that most fans were hoping to see, was that they would just get rid of Jordan Romano, with
That's
with
something I'm actually in favor of. And I said that actually from like when the struggles first began, like literally months ago. And I think it's crazy that they actually hung on. And I think he got some big outs
so
today.
bad.
Was it today or yesterday that he
He's
came in and actually got some big outs in the
I
eighth?
don't know, because I couldn't watch the game today, but let me see.
Well, sometimes baseball, it's just hard for me to remember literally game to game because if you watch every game,
Yeah, because it's every single day.
literally-
I was really hoping they would be off tomorrow because of how much the bullpen had to pitch today, but unfortunately they start the series against the big dumper and the Mariners tomorrow night. So that's a little.
Oh no, I think that was yesterday because I was with the Jordan Romano coming in because I was laughing because I'm pretty sure they went from Taiwan to Jordan Romano and I just started laughing about like.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to watch yesterday's game either because I ended up having to work I missed the entirety of the game. I had a 4:00 appointment in Wilmington, Delaware. So when I got in the car, I caught the second half of the Eagles preseason game on WIP. And then by the time I got out of there and checked my phone, the Phillies game was over. So I missed that game as well. I've missed the past two games, unfortunately. But yeah, let me see here. Romano. Oh yeah. Oh no, Romano. He faced one batter and he got a strikeout. Good for him.
Was that today or yesterday?
That was yesterday. He faced one batter and he got the strikeout. But
Yeah, but it wasn't like a huge situation there. I think the bases were loaded or something, or there was two guys on. It was like
all right, well, good for Romano, but I still want him gone. But
no, I'm not advocating for him. I'm always going to give the guy the most fair credit, regardless of who the person is.
Yeah, I got you. But what I was going to say next is I think he would have been gone. However, at the time of Arenola's return, we've been dealt with another injury, and this one could end up being quite serious. I'm praying it's not.
Oh, the
but Zach, what's that?
The blood clot. I mean, they sneaked that information out too. Late last night too, while I'm enjoying the UFC card. I'm just relaxed and taking my mind off baseball for a little bit. And then you just say, the second best player or the best player on your team arguably is just going down with an injury right before the playoffs start. But it's something that really doesn't have a timeline to it because I feel like it affects everyone's body differently. So that's just like a tough injury.
And it could end up being a thing that
I hope it just will lead to a different type of injury because I think didn't Dame have blood clots too, and then he ended up tearing his Achilles. I don't know if there's any correlation to that, but I just hope that there's no because remember, didn't they scan his arm? What was it, last week? And they said that it came back completely clean and he was good to go. And then I guess they were just withholding this information, and this is actually what the scan said, or I don't know, but they did a scan recently and they said that the arm was clean. And then this comes out like a little bit after that. So it's a little bit confusing, but it's a tough situation, especially at this point in time. I mean, we're more than halfway into August, and we got September, and then we're into playoff baseball. And a guy like Zach Wheeler going down. We've had injuries. That's the one thing with the Phillies. Like, we haven't really had like a massive injury to like Schwarber, Harper, Turner since they've been on the roster, or a Wheeler, Nola, Ranger in the playoffs. Like, we haven't really had that, had to overcome that in a situation. So this would be a first time if that's actually that. So
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We've been dealing with a Harper injury pretty much every year that keeps him out for about a month, but nothing too serious.
Well, we've never dealt with anything during the actual playoffs, though. So this,
and that's everything too. We've lucked out. All the injuries have always occurred before the playoffs. Although, wait, no, Rhys Hoskins missed his entire final season, including the playoffs. So that was that.
That was great, but that was something that you stomached. That happened in spring training, so you stomached that entire season. That was already like something you completely moved on from because that was just the reality of the situation. That wasn't something that like Zach Wheeler, like we have good pitching. And then it starts to crumble, but the one standard is Zach Wheeler still, and then he just goes down. Like, that's tough, especially like, you get Aaron Nola back, and then you just lose Zach Wheeler. Like, that's not a fair trade-off for me. So,
yeah, no, listen, I mean, I'm really praying he's back and ready to go for the postseason. He's been the most consistent postseason performer on the Phillies since
he worries me. He's like in the class like Lane Johnson for me. Like, I worry about Lane Johnson retiring and like how the offensive line will look and the right tackle position and how important it is and how some people take it for granted. Like, take for granted how good of a pitcher Zach Wheeler is, but like he doesn't have that much time left. He said he's going to retire. Hopefully this doesn't lead to even sooner retirement for him. But that's kind of like the class of where he's at as like a Philadelphia athlete now in the upper echelon of where he's put himself.
Yeah, and the other thing that upsets me about it too is he's currently leading the league in strikeouts. So he had a great chance to finish the season as your National League strikeout leader.
He hasn't even been playing up to his standard this year. Like, he's not been playing up to exactly the Zach Wheeler standard that he's set since he's come to Philadelphia. But he's still top three, putting himself in the top three of the Cy Young conversation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he had a great chance at the Cy Young. He had, if I'm looking at it here, he had a chance. I mean, he goes down with injury with a 5.2 WAR. So he had a chance to get that above 6 for the third time as a Philadelphia Philly. He had a chance at possibly the Cy Young. He had a great chance at leading the league in strikeouts. He's currently leading the league in WHIP, and
I guess another comparison that I would make, I don't know if it's the fairest comparison because he makes the All-Star game, but like how Devontae Smith hasn't made an a Pro Bowl yet, but he's like stuck behind A.J. Brown, but everybody knows how good Devontae Smith is. Like, that's kind of how like Zach Wheeler with the Cy Young case is getting. You know what I mean? Like, he's just consistently putting himself. How many times has he finished second? 3 times now in the past?
Twice. The first time
he's been top 5, I think, at least like almost every year that he's been in Philadelphia.
Well, so the first time, 2021, he finished second, just behind Corbin Burns. They had the same amount of first place votes. Corbin Burns just barely edged him out. Corbin Burns had an ERA of 2.43. Zach Wheeler was 2.78. Zach Wheeler had more strikeouts. He had a much higher WAR of 7.5. Burns had 5.3. I mean, because Wheeler started 4 more games. So, that actually is a good sign because maybe if Wheeler only misses 2 starts, maybe you can still win the Cy Young, considering Corbin Burns missed a few starts in 2021.
Yeah, so what? They put him on the 15-day IL, so I guess we can just take it from
there.
there.
Hopefully he can get back soon. But to continue, so last year he finished second again, behind who I already forget. Who was it again? Oh, Chris Sale. Sale had a 2.38 ERA, similar win-loss record, similar WAR. Wheeler had the better WHIP. Chris Sale had more strikeouts. Another close Cy Young race. And then
also he was doing that with dragging the Braves to the playoffs too, with like a really
and then 2023 he finished 6th. With a 3.61 ERA. Blake Snell ended up taking that home. And the other time
before you even started mentioning these names, I was going to say all these guys that edged him out in these specific races, he's a better pitcher than now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the other time was he finished 12th in 2020 with a 2.92.
That's also a skewed year based off of
it was everybody
how many starts was that for him? Like 7? How many starts did he make? Like 7 or 8 or 9?
He made 11 starts.
11.
And that was everybody made either 11 or 12 starts. So that was just a one-off year. Can't even look at that. I mean, the guy who won the Cy Young was Trevor Bauer.
Remember, no, the craziest thing about that year, who was that first baseman for the Yankees? Luke Voigt, and he hit like 22 or 23 home runs that year.
Did he?
Yeah, look up the COVID stats. And who was the other one? Chicago White Sox 77, the classic. What's his name? He went off that year too.
Oh my God, he did hit 22 homers.
Yeah, and then he was out of the league playing like Japan baseball 2 years later. It's the like it doesn't sports.
He was in the MLB up until 2023. Had a bad year, and yeah, now he's in Japan. Yeah,
he's cranking home. I saw a video of him cranking home runs though, but that's one of the craziest buried. Like when you look at like the COVID year, and then you see that, and then the AL MVP was the dude that I was just talking about, Chicago White Sox. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He retired. Classic player, and he went off COVID year too, and he won the AL MVP.
I'm not sure, but
Jose Abreu.
How many homers did he hit that year?
He had 19 and 60 RBIs.
Damn. Yeah, that's insane.
They both went off. That was like a really crazy year too. So
yeah, but let's
But for baseball sake, it just sucks.
Real quick, so Zach, the thing we were talking about pre-podcast, I just got a text. So we're gonna have to speed through the rest of this. So real quickly to talk more about Phillies a bit. I know you wanted to talk about the outfield. So
yeah, just pretty much the outfield of the experiment that they're going through. I mean, everybody expected Max Kepler to get cut. And he's still, on the roster, playing pretty decent in the sparing time that he's now. It just seems like they have so many more options at outfield, but the one thing that they don't have is now they're like taking Nick Castellanos out of the lineup because he struggled, but he looked good today. He had a double, and he had the home run as well today. But Nick Castellanos has been getting sat because of the struggles with him. So now they might have more options with the outfield, but they're actually like opening up a position with right field not being locked down by Nick Castellanos now. So I don't know if they're creating an issue with that, but it's always a case to be seen. Like I said, with Harrison Bader, I just want his plate discipline to be a little bit more. Maybe he has to play a little bit smarter at times and like a less like.
I disagree. I completely disagree about Harrison Bader because here's the thing. I like Harrison Bader. I don't know what it is I like about him.
Why is he wearing purple and pink?
Huh?
Why is he wearing purple and pink?
I don't know. And what I'm going to say is I don't know what I like so much about Harrison Bader. But
I like him. He looks like a big league chew. He looks like the big league chew character.
Yeah, Harrison Bader is straight vibes, right? And like that kind of guy who's jacked, who wears bright colors for absolutely no reason, who has crazy hair, who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. That guy, when he comes up to the plate, I don't want him to play it smart and have a smart approach and play good baseball. I want him to just come up with vibes and swing for the fences, man.
It's like
that's what I want out of Harrison Bader.
It's a good trait about Harrison Bader is I realize like a lot of the times when he gets outs, he's like really good at like creating these sack fly situations. Like he hits the ball like deep into the outfield, like the warning track when he misses all the time, to the point where like he could be a good pinch hitter. So
yeah, absolutely. And with the outfield the way it is, with guys platooning so much, I mean, he's going to get plenty of pinch hit opportunities. Like let's say Max Kepler's starting, and he's about to face a lefty with a runner on third and 1 out in the 7th inning. Then that's a situation where you bring in Harrison Bader and let him go for that sac fly. So I think he's going to get a lot of those pinch hit opportunities.
They have better like guys that can do both things in the outfield now too, play offense and defense, to where they could switch a bunch of guys around with like Marsh and Bader both being able to play left field and center field defensively at a high level. So, I guess if this was the route that they wanted to take without like getting a star player, a star prospect level player to fill the outfield, and they wanted to go with this route, then it's been working out so far. So hopefully the injury bug just doesn't come up to haunt them, because I mean, honestly, this has been like the most exciting like past month of Phillies baseball all year since.
Oh yeah, and other than the bit of a slump they got in, losing what 3 straight, dropping the previous series and then splitting with the Nationals, which everyone on Twitter is acting like the sky is falling. It's like, relax, it's a 162 game season. You guys were all hyping up the Phillies a week ago. Just calm the hell down. But I think this is a
Well,
promising
sometimes their
team.
bad is really bad. I mean, they shouldn't like. Sometimes they're losing games 8-0 versus a team, and their offense just.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, but it's a long season. That's going to happen. So, but I think this is a promising team. Hopefully, Wheeler's fine. But it's time for my meatball of the week. And Zach, if you could please remind me who that meatball is, because I already forget.
Now I'm forgetting who the. Our meatball
baseball.
actually. No, yeah.
Oh, it was Ryan Helsley. Ryan Helsley.
Ryan Helsley.
Yeah, Ryan Helsley got traded to the Mets. And since being traded to the Mets, he's made Jordan Romano look like prime Mariano Rivera. Okay. He's done really, really bad. I'm trying to quickly pull up some numbers here. So yeah, since being
Well,
traded,
I guess that's what they get, because they also traded for this guy. They have a set closer, and they traded for another closer, high-level closer.
Wait. Listen to these numbers, right? So August 4th, he comes out against the Guardians, gives up 2 runs. I guess that's the first
That's
game.
probably the Guardians, outside of Jose, too, is like a bottom 10 offense, too. They're not good.
Yeah, I think that's the first game he blew. Then he went out next game against the Guardians, went out for an inning, didn't give up any runs. Not sure how that game ended, but then August 9th against the Brewers, 1/3 inning, 2 earned runs. August 10th against the Brewers, 2/3 inning, 1 earned run. August 14th against the Braves. All right, let's give him a few days off. Comes back out a few days later against the Braves, August 14th, 1 inning, 2 earned runs. And then August 15th against the Mariners, 1/3 inning, 2 earned runs. I'm pretty sure that's when they walked him off. So he's been bad. He's been bad. At least with Jordan Romano, there's like a break where he doesn't give up any runs. It's like, okay, all right. But then he gives up like 3 runs his next appearance out of the bullpen. Ryan Helsley is just giving up runs, and
I don't think we should. With how bad Ryan Helsley's been, I don't think it's even fair to him, though, to even try and justify Jordan Romano's performance at all, and try and make it like a positive out of Jordan Romano. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, Jordan Romano still stinks, but now, if I had to take my pick,
a positive with Jordan Romano for no reason here, what you're trying to sneak up on for some reason, that's crazy.
Give me Romano over Helsley.
Max Lazar. Max Lazar also.
Max Lazar is awful right now, dude.
He
my
was
God.
getting teed off. Duran had to come into the game today because Lazar was getting teed off on.
Yeah. So. And shout out to Duran, man. He came in and he shut the door. This guy is so freaking good, dude. I swear.
Yeah, but also times like then too, like I get so pressed about the Phillies, and this is what game. I mean, I guess these games are getting more important as the time goes on, but the Mets are so bad right now that the Phillies are just getting distance on them. Like you would need a Max Lazar for like an August game. You know what I mean? Like you just need a Max Lazar to come in and fill some spots. So pretty much I can't always get mad about these situations of them bringing pitchers in where it's not always a situation. I mean, they had a 5-run lead. You shouldn't expect you bring in any MLB type arm or reliever. You should expect them to be able to hold that type of lead. So
absolutely. But listen, we got to move on because we are on time constraints tonight, unfortunately, to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not sure if you want to get into the preseason game first or the newest acquisition they just made.
Yeah, we can talk about John Mechie a little bit. I mean, I think the first thing that always like jogs my brain is they've been doing this trend of like making multiple trades with the same team in like the past couple of years, and this is another trend that they did.
What was the other trade with the Texans?
The Kenyon Green, C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm
They
so
made the Jahan
conflicted.
Dotson, the Cooper DeJean draft pick trade that got Mike Sanistril for the Commanders and Cooper DeJean for the Eagles, and then they made the Jahan Dotson trade.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did make. Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's more with the Texans than I thought. I'm torn about this trade. I'm conflicted because I really like the guy they just got, Mechie. Played at Alabama, played alongside Devontae Smith at one point, had a phenomenal senior year, ended up being a second round pick. Hasn't really performed quite yet, but he has a lot of promise. But I mean, I feel like this wide receiver room has been really showing out so far in the preseason. I mean, Johnny Wilson's looked great. Jahan Dotson's looked great. Uh, Darius Cooper's looked great. Aeneas Smith has looked he looked great this past game. So it's like, where do you fit? I gotta take this. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think their wide receiver room. Anytime that you have the chance to get better, I think they just probably heard the inklings that Mechie was available for trade. He obviously has the connections, being an Alabama guy with guys like Landon Dickerson, Devontae Smith. I don't think his time overran with Jalen, because I think Jalen had already been in Oklahoma at that point. But he's got connections with a lot of guys on the roster already. So he can step in, already have relationships. He's a talented young player still. And I mean, they gave up like a back end tight ends, and we were already trying to figure out what they were going to do with all these tight ends. And I feel like Harrison Bryant became expendable because maybe they see something in another young tight end that they have on the roster that's been progressing throughout. I mean, EJ Jenkins has looked pretty good in preseason off the top of my head. But they signed a bunch of those tight ends before they figured out what was going on with Dallas Goedert. And once they figured out what was going on with Dallas Goedert, then they found themselves with like 4 tight ends. And then they brought a bunch of guys in for camp as well. So I don't think they were tied to Kylan Granson or Harrison Bryant for the long run. And, I feel like wide receiver wasn't a true necessity, because I'm actually excited to see what Aeneas Smith and Jahan Dotson can provide for this receiving core behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Also, Johnny Wilson. I want to see the progression of what style packages Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni would use him in with that size, to utilize his size. I mean, we saw him catch a red zone touchdown last year. We saw Aeneas Smith was banged up, but looked good with Tanner McKee in the Giants game, and has looked good when he's given opportunities, but he was banged up for a lot last year. So it's going to be interesting to see which wide receiver is now phased out. But they also have a special teams role that could be opened up as well, because Britton Covey isn't on the team anymore. He was their long-term kick and punt returner. So that's something that they moved on from. That was a guy that was their kick and punt returner for a long period of time. So that's a position that they've still been trying to fill whenever you have a starter for multiple years, and they move on from him. Regardless of what year, now you're looking into a second year without him on the roster, and you're still trying to figure out who the kick and punt returner is. So maybe that's a position that could be filled by one of those guys, and maybe they hold 6 wide receivers because a guy like Britton Covey isn't on the roster anymore. But like I said, I'm not saying Britton Covey was on the roster last year. I'm just saying he was a guy that held down the returner position for multiple years, and they're still looking, because they also said they're not putting Coop back there this year. So you're muted.
I forgot I had to mute myself. Not to cut you off. They should have. I mean, I really, and I had talked about before. I really wanted Devon Allen as the punt returner. He looked great as a punt returner. He's
just like, I mean, those guys are cool and everything, and they look good in camp, but like, you can't always trust them for like an entire, like, that's just like an athlete that was trying to play football, not like a true, football player.
Yeah, but what was Covey?
I'm not glorifying Covey. I was just saying that's the all you missed me. Like you didn't really hear what I was
Yeah,
saying.
I didn't catch all
I
of
was just
that.
saying they might hold more wide receivers even with this move. It's going to be interesting to see because Aeneas Smith is a punt returner, so maybe he takes on that role and they hold more guys because they're still trying.
I would like to see Aeneas Smith.
He's
Take
good with the
over.
ball in his hands. That's what he's advertised to be, but he was also banged up last year, so we barely got to see him besides like that last regular season game with Tanner McKee at quarterback.
Can I say one thing? And this is off topic, but I don't know what just made me think of it. I was really disappointed during the broadcast of the game yesterday. During the first half, the broadcast I caught on TV, not on the radio, when the one commentator asked the other one something about Ben. He was like, "Oh, what is Ben Van Sumeren one of the very few? What has Ben Van Sumeren done that very few NFL players have ever done?" And the other guy was stumped. And I was practically yelling at the TV. I'm like, obviously, he played both sides of the ball, linebacker and fullback. How do you not know that? You know, I just wanted
Who
to
you
get that.
talking about, Ross Tucker? Or?
Well, it's Dave Spadera and Ross Tucker, right?
Yeah, Ross Tucker's pretty knowledgeable. I didn't hear him specifically say that, but he would.
Well, which ones? So Ross Tucker, he's the
Tucker
analyst,
has like
right?
one of the biggest NFL podcasts. He's one of the
Yeah, but he's the analyst, right? Spadero is the play-by-play.
It's not Dave Spadero. Dave Spadero is the like one of the Eagles' main insiders. It's the I forget the guy's name.
Well, either way, I forget who asked who the question and who didn't know the answer.
Maybe it was Ross Tucker because the other guy would probably know, but who knows? But yeah, Ben Van Sumeren, I mean, he was playing on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's going to make the roster because of being a fullback, but he probably wouldn't even make the roster as a linebacker. I mean, the linebacker.
Oh, absolutely not. That's a good segue to talk about.
And that's what a lot of those the insiders have been talking about because I've been listening to a lot of Eagles-driven podcasts. I listen to obviously exciting Whites or exciting Mikes and a lot of Eagles-driven podcasts too, like even like their insiders and stuff. And the one thing that they said that's been very interesting, this might be the best linebacking core through and through that the Eagles have ever gone into a training camp with.
Yeah, no, and the two of the standouts from this past game were the two linebackers they drafted, Jahad Campbell and Smile Munden. I learned from watching this game, I've been pronouncing his name incorrectly. Actually, no, I learned it from listening to the game on the radio.
It's Smile. It's just not spelled.
Yeah, I've been saying Smile. Yeah, it's Smile.
Yeah, step your game up, dude. Like,
well, who spells smile like that? What are we doing here? But anyway,
who are you to
Smile Munden had a
name.
great game. I caught most of his great plays on the radio, but I was able to watch the great plays that Jahad Campbell made. He looked really good out there. So they both looked good. And then
I was telling him you're high on Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and I want Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to make the team. Hopefully he can play special teams, but I think Munden has a bigger ceiling because he's so athletic and he's one of those pass.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that. But yeah, I mean, outside of Campbell and Munden, of course, you have Zach Bond, you have Nakobe Dean, who's getting ready to come back from injury, hopefully soon enough. You have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. You have those two guys we just mentioned. It's a stacked linebacker room right now.
You have Nicholas Morrow. You have
I forgot about Morrow. Wow, yeah.
No, I was actually joking. He's not on the team. I was joking when they didn't have linebackers. I was thinking what was the other guy that they had? Zach. Who was the other guy? Zach. What's his name? The old Texans linebacker that they had a couple years ago. Zach Cunningham.
Oh my God, yeah. Remember when they brought in Devin White?
That's when they didn't. That was the all season. They didn't sign TJ Edwards back, and they paid for it, and they were.
Who was the guy they signed and then he retired before the season started?
That was Miles Jack, and then he then he came out of retirement and played for another team like literally weeks later.
Yeah, that's happened a few times with the
Eagles. There was a receiver that just did. Was that this offseason or that was last offseason, wasn't it?
Well, there was back in the day it was Marquise Goodwin, and then we had somebody else again recently.
Yeah, but that was COVID. No, this was last offseason, the old wide receiver, the old first-round pick for the Patriots. Or no, the old Dolphins, but he played for the Patriots, Devontae Parker.
Yeah, Devontae Parker. But then the OG, the
Frank
original
Gore.
one to ever do it, of course, Frank Gore.
Well, he didn't retire. He just like didn't.
Well, no, I'm talking about guys who the Eagles have acquired, but then just decided not to play for them. The OG was Frank Gore, who flipped commitment, like a college, like a high school
Yeah, like
recruit.
we weren't also like we're not talking. I am also not the biggest Frank Gore fan. I respect him as a player, but I don't think he's in the upper echelon like some of the other running backs in NFL history. But we weren't like we didn't miss out on like prime Frank Gore. You know what I mean?
No, well, Frank Gore is a guy who's built his legacy almost solely on longevity. He
Yeah.
was at no point in his career has Zach Gore ever been a top 5 running back, but he's
He was like the seventh best running back though. He was good. I'm not hating on
yeah,
him.
no, he was always a good running back, and what's gotten him such a big legacy is how long he stayed consistent for it in the National Football
You
League.
know
But
who's
he
a
was
classic
never like a
running back I would take
dominant
over
running
him?
back.
You know who's a classic running back I would take over him? That was
Hmm.
around the same time period. Remember Matt Forte?
I was just about to say Matt Forte.
That's like
When you
Matt
said
Forte is
a
like the
running,
underrated element of like I think Matt Forte is just a little bit better than Frank Gore, but Frank Gore is probably that good.
Matt Forte was a little more athletically gifted than
He also did more.
Frank
Frank Gore
Gore.
did catch the ball a lot, like underratedly, but like Matt Forte was really doing that. Like he was a fantasy beast. But yeah. Um, Also, I've been watching some Eagles content recently, and it just sounds like I was like watching a couple Saquon videos. Like he did the Kevin Hart cold tub, and I was watching that, and he talks about how he has a relationship with Brian Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy, and he's able to talk to like some of the greats, the Eagles greats, and how cool that is. So that's always awesome. But I'm just excited for this year because I feel like a lot of the narrative too is not only the Eagles are going to have trouble as a team repeating, but specifically Saquon Barkley himself repeating his performance from last year. But I mean, from what we've seen this year, obviously we're not going to see him in preseason, but what we've seen in camp, I mean, there was people talking about a couple weeks ago that that was the best practice they've seen from a running back ever since they've been covering the Eagles. So that's how dominant he's been. He's talking trash to the young guys. There's, I think, a video. I think there was a video of like AJ Brown. It was either AJ Brown or Saquon Barkley with Quinyon Mitchell walking past them. They were just like staring at each other, like saying, "What's up?" So there's like a competitive vibe in camp, and I just think they just have a really good environment for the Eagles. Obviously, the other big narrative is the offensive coordinator position with Kevin Patullo taking over. He's been on the staff for a while. He has a lot of NFL experience, but this is the first time he's actually going to be an offensive coordinator. He's also going to be calling the plays. So I feel like a lot of people's skepticism in that department of that decision just relies on like their the lack of confidence they had in just Nick Sirianni doing that himself. And now there's not like a veteran guy next to a new guy in Kevin Patullo, who's the first-time play caller. There's not a veteran guy next to him to consult with. But, I mean, Nick knows what he's doing at this point. I mean, you don't take two teams to a Super Bowl in the amount of time that he's done and not know what you're doing. So I feel like that's pretty stupid. Also, that's also another note while I'm just like talking right now. You have to think. I feel like everybody always downplays it. Like, what does Nick Sirianni do? If there's one thing that Nick Sirianni pays attention to, it's the wide receiver position. So, I mean, if Nick Sirianni hears that a former teammate of an Alabama player, of two of the best players on their team in Landon Dickerson and Devontae Smith becomes available with a former wide receiver coach and wide receiver himself, Nick Sirianni, I mean, that's like the number one position he puts emphasis on. So, I feel like that trade is good for, I mean, they got, like I said, that tight end, Harrison Bryant. They signed all those tight ends in Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant when they didn't know what was going on with Dallas Goedert. So now when Dallas Goedert came back and signed his deal on the pay cut, when he took the $4 million less, then they had an influx of tight ends. So, I mean, dishing out a tight end and then swapping picks back in the 5th round for the player that John Mechie is. The reason why the Texans did it is because their longtime backup tight end, who's really athletic, Brevin Jordan from Miami, just tore his ACL 6 days ago. So they needed a tight end. And
I think it was a trade that
the Texans drafted 2 rookie wide receivers from the same school. Isn't that interesting? The Texans drafted 2 rookie wide receivers from the same school in the draft this year from Iowa State.
I didn't know that. That is interesting.
2nd and 3rd round.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the trade. I'm a big fan of Mechie. I mean, after they made the trade, I looked into him and I really like what I see. This is the second trade that on the surface.
This is a guy who also overcame cancer too.
Yeah, leukemia.
I think also too, we mentioned before, just recently, Tanner McKee overcame cancer as well, and Will Shipley. So they got a bunch of guys that just persevere and overcome,
baby. But yeah, so what I was gonna say is, this is the second trade during the preseason Howie's made that on the surface, if you're a casual fan, you look at it, it just looks like a minor nothing trade for depth, but it's the second really good trade now. Jacorian Bennett. Right now, I mean, out of all the corners we've seen in the preseason, he has looked the best by far, in my opinion. I thought he looked really good. He has a real shot.
I wouldn't say he looked really good. I mean, there was at times he got beat a little bit, but I mean,
and like I mentioned, I only was able to catch the first half. I saw him.
Guys that are that young. When you get a guy that's that young, I'll always gamble on the athleticism, and they have a really good defensive back coach in Christian.
Well, let me get back to that in a second because I just want to finish what I was saying. This is the second trade now, and we'll get back to Jacorian Bennett, but this is the second trade now that Howie, like if you just look at it on the surface, it looks like a very minor trade, but Mechie could end up, providing some decent production as a depth piece, in case somebody gets hurt and he's got to step up.
Does this make you angry? Do you think this is actually a bad move from Howie in the sense that he drafted 2 wide receivers last draft in 2024? He drafted 2 wide receivers, and now he's had to trade for a different wide receiver on 2 different occasions after making those 2 draft picks.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't say it's because he had to, because we've seen good things out of all of the wide receivers leading up to this trade. I feel like the idea behind this trade was it was just a good opportunity. The Texans needed a tight end. They had a tight end that they didn't really need, and it was just a good opportunity to go out and get this guy. And now the funny thing too is now it just adds to the insane amount of Alabama and Georgia players on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, that also was something I guess that we didn't talk about that much because AJ did miss multiple practices with a hamstring this offseason. So that's one thing. Also, Devontae's been banged up with a back injury for a couple of days as well. So both of those guys themselves haven't been the healthiest. And I mean, as good as Jahan Dotson looks like he's progressing and just like getting more familiar with the system, when AJ and Devontae are a little bit banged up, I guess you just want more insurance. And I guess this just was a trade that they felt like was good to make, and I approve of it. But it's not the biggest deal to keep talking about. I mean, the preseason game, the Eagles looked pretty good. I mean, the quarterback play wasn't the best. I mean, I've been saying I'm not the biggest DTR fan. I think he proved the player that he is. Kyle McCord didn't look the greatest himself, but he did lead the team on a touchdown drive. And I think Kyle McCord might end up winning the 3rd quarterback job. Some other position battles. I mean, Andrew Makuba, we got to give a shout out to Andrew Makuba and what he did on Saturday. I mean, coming up with the pick 6 on Dylan Gabriel, a highly touted day 2 quarterback draft pick, picking him off. I mean, it looked like the wide receiver spacing on that play wasn't the best. And it also wasn't the best decision from Dylan Gabriel to throw the ball into that window. But Andrew Makuba has a nose for the football, and he returned it all the way for a touchdown. And he also said that was the first time of all the interceptions. I think he had 5 picks last year at Texas. That was his first pick 6. So that was a first for him. And that was his first interception in the NFL in the preseason. So that was great to see. And then he comes back and recovers the fumble. And he's right in the hole to recover the fumble on the rushing play from the Browns. And he's just Johnny on the spot. So when you do things like that, especially he's making up for lost time because he was banged up for a little bit of time. We talked about how last year when Cooper DeJean, their second-round pick last year, missed a lot of time in training camp with an injury with his hamstring, and he had to go through a learning curve, and he didn't get going until after the first quarter of the season, and really started turning the corner after that bye week in week 6. Andrew Makuba already making up for lost time with 2 turnovers in the preseason and really narrowing the gap to where it might come down to the last preseason game for the starting safety job of what they want to do, or maybe he could have already solidified himself because Sidney Brown's looked good, but he wasn't making those type of plays that Andrew Makuba just made. So I was really excited to see that, and also when you just see Ty Robinson in the first preseason game had a sack. So we've seen production. Smile Munden, when Dante talked about, has looked good as well. So when you see production from pretty much your entire draft class in the preseason, that's something you can hang your hat on, especially when you're seeing that those top 2 guys that you drafted really producing. With Jahad Campbell, missed out on his own interception in his preseason debut with the Eagles and has looked good moving forward. He had a sack on Dylan Gabriel in the game on Saturday as well. So, the draft picks, there's a lot of things to be excited about with the Eagles. And it's just, fresh blood to an experienced team that's already young and considered young. But when you get to add talents like this at positions that you might not have the most amount of talent at, then you can pretty much, be excited about what's going forward. So moving forward, there's one preseason game left. And I guess this is probably the last 10 guys on the roster battling for spots long snapper positions and special teams type positions, returner type positions, and back end depth guys. I think they're really in the battle that we're going to see positionally that's still probably open is, I would say, maybe safety. And it's going to be really come down close, but Andrew Makuba might have the edge after his performance, and probably guard. But Tyler Steen's probably won that. Kenyon Green's not even in the same ballpark. Kenyon Green.
Oh yeah, Steen has, I would say, is running away with that. I would say we still got to figure out who's the second corner. I would say that's the whole position battle. I agree with safety. But I was thinking about one route.
If they like Andrew Makuba enough, they could always start Sidney Brown if they like Sidney Brown and Makuba.
This was what I was about to say. This was what I was about to say.
And then put Makuba at nickel.
Yeah, no, this is literally what I was just about to say. Is if neither of these guys are looking good as your second corner, I would put Makuba in the nickel, put DeJean out on the outside, and start Sidney Brown at safety. That's what I would do.
I wonder how much they're actually committed. Vic is committed to that actual Cooper DeJean at safety and base package thing.
Well, I don't want to put
actually
Cooper
creating the issue.
I don't know him at outside corner.
I don't know if he's willing to do that, if it's going to create an issue for the cornerback 2 position. I don't know if it's worth to do that because they have options at safety now with what Makuba's shown that he can possibly do. Especially Makuba's a more athletic guy. So I've always talked about, I finally want to give Reed Blankenship the respect because I feel like I never doubted him as a player, just a little bit. I just think his athleticism lacks a little bit. So when he gets caught in space, I get worried a little bit. But to have a guy like Andrew Makuba who's crazy athletic, and the same could be said about Sidney Brown, those are the type of guys you want to have next to Reed Blankenship to kind of offset that. Because at the end of the day, Reed Blankenship is a phenomenal player. If he was 15 to 20 pounds heavier, he would probably be one of the best linebackers in the league. You know what I mean? With his skill trait, as he could just be one of the best pass coverage linebackers. And that's kind of how he plays. But you also need a little bit of athleticism to offset that. And they have more than enough with Coop and Q, but they need somebody on the back end as well. And that's where Makuba or Sidney Brown. But Makuba, like I said, I just highlighted how good the entire draft class has looked. Every player that they pretty much has picked in the draft class has made a play in the preseason that has been highlighted noteworthy.
Yeah, and the other battle I think is still active. Let me ask you your opinion. As of right now, who do you think is third in the quarterback depth chart?
Oh, it's not even quite. DTR is one of the worst players of all time. He's so bad at football. It's
yeah. Yeah, he looked, and that's the thing too. I thought after the first preseason game, I thought he looked better than McCord. I thought McCord looked awful, and DTR looked better than I was expecting. But yesterday, my God, he looked really, really
DTR
bad.
has starts in the NFL. Has starts in the NFL. Kyle
Does he
McCord was
really?
making his debut.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Wait, does he actually?
what do you mean?
This
DTR
bum motherfucker
multiple
started.
starts in the NFL. He's got a 1 touchdown and 10 interceptions. He's got 1 touchdown, 10 interceptions. People like that even thought
I
that
just pulled up his numbers. You can't be serious.
people that thought he was
This
even
is
a realistic option to make the
atrocious.
roster just have no clue what they're thinking about. He's one of the worst players of the offense.
Yes, yes. In his career, in 2 seasons, he started 5 games. He has 1 touchdown to 10 interceptions. Last year, he had no touchdowns to 6 interceptions. This dude, I like, and that's the thing too. Like, I remember looking at his stats when we trade for him, and them looking bad. I don't remember it being this bad. It makes total sense. Yeah, he is. Why even include him in that trade? I would have just given them Kenny Pickett. I don't even want DTR back in return. Yeah. I think I think it's still going to come down to the
I mean, you like
game,
it's
but
already Kyle McCord's already going to be the favorite because he's the draft pick, and then like
yeah,
cut him for DTR. Like
yeah. I think like as long as
you can't
McCord
even lean
doesn't,
experience factor wise because what are you going to do with those numbers of that experience? That's not viable experience. That's just absolute BS.
yeah, but I think with McCord, like as long as he doesn't have an awful performance next Friday night, then the job is his. But I don't think it's a lock though.
That's something that I could see like 4 days before the season. They find some random vet in free agency and get them in like as their
Yeah, well, that's what happened with the. If
they're
you
going to want to
remember
keep McCord. They
correctly,
might just want to like practice squad him just because they're like I mean, they're the defending champs. They're like maybe they actually see that as an important
well,
position.
don't isn't the new NFL rule you get an emergency quarterback now, and it
Yeah, so
doesn't.
they can bring them up from the practice squad.
Yeah,
So if
but what I was
nobody
gonna
like
say is, well,
Kyle McCord like
wait,
had flashes.
hold on, because I want to piggyback off of something you said. If you remember correctly, 2015 it was. There was one of the big position battles in the preseason was the battle for the third quarterback spot between Matt Barkley and Tim Tebow, and ultimately Chip Kelly cut both of them and made I think it was a trade where he might have signed Stephen Morris from the Jaguars, who never saw any NFL action again after that trade. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it could end up like that again.
Yeah, I mean, even Kyle McCord, I mean, he's showed some flashes in preseason, but nothing to the point where he would get poached off your practice squad if you put him down there because, I mean, people already let him go 6 rounds in the draft anyway. So I wouldn't be too worried about losing him if you move into the practice squad. But DTR should never make this roster. I'm in favor of Kyle McCord going to the practice squad, but it's not in favor of DTR being the third quarterback to make that happen. So, but we'll see how it plans out. I'm not too really worried about that. Hopefully, Jalen stays healthy. Tanner McKee has shown that he can do his thing when he gets in there as the backup quarterback. That all should really matter at this moment in time, this point in time. So if it gets down to Kyle McCord, so be it. Kyle McCord's played with great players at Ohio State and Syracuse. So, I mean, honestly, if you're going to walk into any position in the NFL, you're going to have the best offensive line, arguably the best duo of wide receivers in the NFL, the best running back, top 7, 8 tight end in the league. I mean, just don't crash the car.
Yeah,
If it
yeah,
ever
and that's the thing, like with
like
Tanner
I don't
McKee.
think they would ever go into a playoff game with Kyle McCord. I think they would frantically panic and try and find somebody, even if it was like at the very end of the season, call somebody out of retirement.
Well,
But if it was
I
like
mean,
week 9, if
that's
it
in
was
a
like
that's
week
in a
9,
nightmare scenario. That's in a nightmare scenario if both Hurts
no, I'm just
and
talking about the
DT are
levels
hurt.
to it. I'm saying like if it was like week 9, I think they would do. Like Kyle McCord would get a start, but I couldn't see him.
Well, I think it depends a lot on his progression throughout the season. His progression in practice and training camp and all of that stuff. Like as of right now, current day, Kyle McCord, I would not want to see him in a regular season game. But like with how he progresses throughout practice and all, since he's brand new to the NFL, maybe by week 9, maybe he is ready enough to step in for like the second half if he has to. So, well, that's something we'll see how it plays out. But I doubt it'll even come down to us having to see him. That would be a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I guess now like. It looks like Brett Toth is probably their like main backup offensive lineman.
Yeah, I don't love our offensive.
I feel like that's something that's like thinking off the top of my head. Backup pass rusher is something that's also like a big battle between Uche and Ojulari, who's going to step.
Well, Ojulari, he looked good, man. Ojulari looked really good. I think
he's a little intimidating with the
13.
Right, number 13 too, kind of looks a little intimidating coming off the edge. But
and then Uche just gives you PTSD of Bryce Huff out there wearing number 0.
Yeah, even with the guy like last year, they had that veteran Matt Hennessy that never played a game for them, but was on their team, just a veteran offensive lineman that could just play in the interior or at a couple different positions. Like they don't really have that guy besides like Brett Toth, you know what I mean? So and Matt Pryor. So
I'll tell you another guy who's continuing to look good. Another rookie is Ty 95, Ty Robinson. I thought he looked pretty good again yesterday.
Yeah, he's gonna play in the regular season too. So
yeah, absolutely. I love our depth.
That's the one position that you can ensure that if you get drafted to the Eagles, you're probably playing immediately in in a decent type role. Like their defensive line has always been around. Since we've been growing up watching the Eagles, the defensive line has always been a rotation, regardless of the high-level players that have been a part of the rotation, whether it's Fletcher Cox or Jalen Carter, those level guys, or Trent Cole. They've always had guys rotating in and out, regardless. So, I mean, they're always going to have to rely on their backup defensive lineman, so he's going to play an important role. I think the whole draft class is going to play. The whole draft class has a chance to play immediately, the entire draft class.
That's a great point. Wait, I know we last week we went through the entire draft class, but I do need a refresher on who exactly those players are, because now that's a very good point.
Andrew Makuba, and then
so Jihad. So going down the list, so Jihad Campbell, Andrew Makuba. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of them. Ty Robinson, you're going to see a lot of him. Mac McWilliams, you might end up seeing a lot of him. Smile London, you might end up seeing a lot of him. Drew Kendall, if there's an injury, you might end up seeing him. Kyle McCord, you're not going to see anything of him. Miles Hinton,
Well, that's also something I just sparked my memory. We didn't even mention because it happened like literally like a week, 7 days ago, exactly at like this point in time. Landon Dickerson went down at the public practice.
Oh my God! Yeah, I forgot all about that. We didn't even bring that up.
And he had to have surgery and trimmed up his knee, so that definitely wasn't the good thing. He was also banged. Remember, that was like the most swept under the rug thing about the entire playoff run. Remember how banged up our interior offensive line was going into the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I forgot about
Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were both hobbling in that game, barely playing. Remember, who was it? Was it Cam or Landon came in at center, and then Cam had to come in off the bench injured to come and relieve him because he was hurt?
I don't know. I don't remember that exactly.
That happened. That's what happened.
But what I will say is, going back to the Phillies, 2 very similar things have happened in Philly sports over the past week. First, you had Landon Dickerson. You heard the news that he hurt his meniscus, and we didn't know to the extent of it at the time. A meniscus that could end up being like a 6-month-long thing, depending on if it's torn or not, how bad it's torn. And then the next day they come out with the news that it's just going to be week to week, and he might even start week 1. It was like, oh my God, thank God. And he might even start week 1. That's amazing. And then Duran takes the line drive off the ankle, gets carted off. It's like, oh, this ain't good. And then you find out, oh no, he's fine. And then he ends up closing out the game on Sunday. So yeah, great luck in Philly with injuries the past.
The thing about the Eagles is like an injury like Duran, even like Dickerson is a great player. He's probably a little bit, maybe like a little lesser of a tier of what Duran is in his sport at what he does.
I don't know about that, man. I don't know.
Love Landon Dickerson as much as the next guy. Landon Dickerson's like probably a top 5, probably a top, I would say top 7 total guard in the league, left or right guard. Probably.
Yeah, exactly. Like Duran is like a top 5. Duran's a top 5 closer. And I would say Dickerson definitely is a top 5 guard. Something I didn't even realize about Dickerson until after the news, and I was just looking at I forget what I was looking at, but he's been a Pro Bowler 3 years in a row already. Like that. That's insane. And
I mean, if he wasn't hurt, if he was hurt with a knee going into the draft, that wasn't the case, he was going to get drafted in the top 15.
Yeah. And this might be our final topic here. But
that's the formula. A top 15 talent from Alabama, draft him, turns into a multiple-time All-Pro.
Well, that's what I was about to say. They brought this up on the broadcast during the game, and they even left out a couple guys, but the Eagles have had great luck / success over the past few years with getting guys who have slipped in the draft due to injury. You just mentioned a couple, Landon Dickerson. You referenced without saying
you know who could actually fit that billing too? Is Cooper DeJean, because Cooper.
Well, that's what I was going to mention. Yeah. So you have Landon Dickerson, you have Jihad Campbell, you have Cooper DeJean. Nakobe Dean fell far in the draft because of his injury. Am I mistaken, or who else was also who else also had an injury? It was just on the tip of my tongue, but there was somebody else too. Wait, did Nolan Smith have an injury, or did he just fall in the draft?
No, he just fell.
Yeah. So, I mean, all those guys fell due to injury. We picked them up, and it ended up being nothing. And Nolan Smith just fell for no reason, and that was another way we lucked out. So, yeah.
Yeah, also, you brought up it just sparked my memory. You brought up you said something on the broadcast that was mentioned. Crazy stat. I was watching the Phillies broadcast today. Did you know that my bad if I sound like I'm like cut, my cadence is kind of weird. I got some mouth issues going on today. But did you know that Kyle Schwarber is tied for the most home runs as a left-handed batter off a left-handed reliever in a season in the history of the MLB?
That's one of those like ESPN stats. But that's still impressive though. I didn't know that.
I don't really think I hate stats like that, but I actually think this is viable. I don't think that's like fits that this statue.
If it was off of left-handed pitchers, I would agree. But the fact it's left-handed relievers specifically, I feel like makes
that's
ESPN
later in the game. That shows the importance of the home run. You hit them later in the game.
No, I agree. I still think it is like a bit of a specific stat, but it is, like I said, still very impressive. And what is he up to now after today? Is he at 103 ribbies now?
Yeah, the most he's had with the Phillies, right?
Let me see. Because I know he's hit for over 100
a couple years ago. I think he had 100 RBI season with the Phillies.
No, so 2024 and 2023, he had 104 in each of those seasons. He's at 103 now. So he's one away from not only his career high as a Philly, but his career high in total. Matter of fact, I'm looking at it right here. Every year he has played as a Philly, his RBI total from that season tops any previous career high. Like his career high before coming to the Phillies was 92. That was with the Cubs in 2019. 2022, his first year as a Philly, he had 94, which was his new career high. So every single year he's as a Philly, he's had more ribbies in that season than he did any other
You know
season.
what I want him to do? You know what I want him to do this year and achieve is has 124 games played, 150 strikeouts. He can't strike out more than 200 times.
What do you mean?
I want him to not strike out more than 200 times because in 2022 and 2023, he struck out over 200 times. And last year, he struck out 197. So hopefully it looks like his strikeout trend is also trending down a little bit, which is good too.
Well, let me look at the exact percentage.
Exact same batting average that he has right now.
Yeah. But I do want to see his strikeout percentage.
This was also why I was critical of him before. Like, you look at that stat line, dude. Like, I see those home runs, those RBIs are great, but like he ended 2023 batting 197. That's crazy. 197.
No, but the crazier part about that was he batted 197, but his on base percentage was 343. That is above league average. He batted below the Mendoza line at 197 and yet drew enough walks to have an above average on base percentage, which is just absolutely absurd. And just looking at it here, so is 2022 and 2023, his strikeout percentage was 29.9 exactly for both of those seasons, which is kind of funny. Last year it was 28.5, and as it stands this year, it's 27.5. So some small improvements in striking out, but the biggest thing, if we're looking at percentages, is the home run percentage. 2022 was 6.9%. 2023 was 6.5%. 2024 only 5.5%. This year, obviously, it's an insane home run year. It's 7.9%. And now, out of curiosity, I want to compare that. Sorry, not to just go on a full-on tangent here, but I'm so curious right now what Ryan Howard's home run percentage was in 06. And it was 8.2%. So even with the insane season Schwarber is having, he's still a notch below 06 Howard, which is kind of crazy. But it would be good for like Howard's second highest home run percentage. After that was 7.3 the following season.
What was Howard's highest?
Howard's highest was 8.2%. That was in 06. So, and
Jim Thome, my favorite baseball player ever with the Guardians the year before he came to Philly, 8.5.
Damn. Wait, now, I mean, let's compare all of this to as high as it can possibly go. Let's look at the Barry Bonds 72 home run season and what his percentage was then. And this is when you take an already elite home run hitter and give him steroids. So basically meaning it's almost impossible to replicate. Oh my God. 11% in 2001 for Barry Bonds. Jesus. That was his first steroid year. When he won the 4 MVPs in a row, those were his 4 steroid seasons, if I'm not mistaken. Because those 4 years, his numbers were just not even realistic. It was like MLB The Show, Road to the Show numbers.
Yeah, that's how, You want to end the podcast on a bad note?
What's that?
No, I just had this random topic, and then we can get out of here. I was just thinking, so we possibly could only have 25 more regular season games ever with Kyle Schwarber on the roster. If the Phillies don't actually re-sign him, and if the Phillies somehow let him walk and let him move on, where do you think that compares to with other Philadelphia greats? I mean, He would have it would be so close to Jim Thome. It was what, 3 years of Jim Thome?
Don't put Jim Thome and Kyle Schwarber in the same sentence. Listen, Jim Thome was great.
Wait, brother. That's stop.
Let me finish my thought.
You just said don't put a 600 home run Hall of Famer in the same conversation with a dude that has 300 career home runs. I can't even. This is where it comes down to the homer statement stuff. This is where
oh my God, let me finish. Let me finish that, because I was not comparing them as players. I was comparing them to what is currently on the roster, if you would have let me finish. When we lost Jim Thome, it was because we had Ryan Howard, so we were okay with moving on from him. We don't have another Kyle Schwarber. That's why I said don't put them in the same sentence, because it's not even remotely the same. We were okay with moving on from Jim Thome, and the guy we replaced him with went on to win MVP and helped us win a World Series. There is nobody in the Phillies organization that is going to replicate
not play a position. Kyle Schwarber doesn't play a position, so he has the easiest.
But we don't have another power hitter like that. That's the thing. So it's a much greater loss than when we lost Jim Thome. It's not even close.
Nah, that's crazy.
That is not crazy. You had Thome's replacement. They willingly got rid of him.
That statement saying don't. Yeah, you're right. Don't ever put Kyle Schwarber's name and Jim Thome's in the same conversation as Jim Thome. You're right.
They had his replacement.
You're right.
Who went on to hit 58 bombs the next season.
Okay, I agree. I don't want to lose Kyle Schwarber, but I mean, you're saying it's not even the same impact. I mean, they literally
it's not. You had his replacement.
Literally, the numbers, they've been there for the same amount of time. They're pretty much probably the same age when they literally stopped by in Philly. If that was the
if you're comparing Schwarber's production as a Philly to Jim Thome, then I get what you're saying. But my point is, you don't have a replacement for Kyle Schwarber. You had a replacement and some in Ryan Howard. So it's not even remotely the same. You're going from, okay, let's think about like this. Right? Let's say Schwarber walks and your DH next season is Otto Kemp. Just to throw a name out there, just to compare them.
Why would they DH Otto Kemp?
I'm just saying. Okay, fine. Let's say Otto Kemp plays third base and you DH.
The most realistic thing is Bryce Harper becoming the DH again. That would probably be the most realistic thing.
Well, then let's look at who replaces Harper at first base. Let's look at the guy who enters the starting lineup after Schwarber goes, which I think Otto Kemp is just a name to throw out there. Just for the sake of discussion, let's throw Otto Kemp out there, right? You go from Kyle Schwarber, who hits 40-plus bombs every year, 100-plus ribbies every year, an on-base percentage in the high 300s every year, an all-star player. You go from that to Otto Kemp versus going from Jim Thome to Ryan freaking Howard. Do you see what I am saying here?
I literally said that if he left the same it's like the similar impact, he would have been here for 3 to 4 years, hit a bunch of home runs that were pretty much, if you broke down the numbers, probably next to each other. Jim Thome probably has a little bit more home runs, or maybe Kyle has a little bit more home runs. I don't know. All I said was that would be the impact that Kyle Schwarber would have made.
What I will agree with you on is they've made similar impacts on the Phillies. But when we're talking about how big of a loss it is, because that's how this discussion started,
I never said that. You interpreted it that way. You interpreted that way, and then made the never put Kyle Schwarber's name in Jim Thome's conversation.
And also, it was only 2 full seasons from Jim Thome. So we're talking about 4 full seasons of Schwarber hitting bombs compared to Thome 2 full seasons of hitting bombs.
Whatever you want to do. But all right. I just thought that was crazy disrespect to Jim Thome like that, but it is what it is. But yeah, they need to sign Kyle Schwarber so we don't have to have these type of arguments on the podcast.
Yeah, And I think they will.
But that about does it for episode 110 of the Paisan Sports Podcast. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I always say, what could possibly happen next week? I mean, we see the Eagles making multiple trades. I mean, the past couple of weeks, we never know what they're going to do now. You never know when Howie's going to turn off the Madden trade system that he runs. But we'll see what the Eagles do. They had to make a lot of roster decisions upon the last preseason game. So that's going to be something to be interesting to see moving forward. We'll see how the Phillies combat the Zach Wheeler injury and how the lineup does now that it looks completely healthy. And I guess the Sixers are never signing Quentin Grimes.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting about that.
There was like 5 guys on different teams in the league that like put up decent numbers last year, like Josh Giddey, him, Cam Thomas. I forget one of the other guys off the top of my head, and they're all just sitting there as Jonathan Kuminga, and they're all just sitting there as like restricted free agents with no solution. And we're almost on NBA training camp, so that's going to be something.
I have one final thought before we end here, and I don't want to turn this into a topic. I just want to say it. David Robertson needs way more love. You know, when he came here in 2022, he pitched great. And then everyone complained when we got him, but he pitched great. And then we bring him back again this year. Everyone has been complaining. Nobody has ever given him any sort of credit, and he's been great since coming back again this time around at age 40. He deserves love.
Old dudes in sports never get love. They just get hated on just because they're old and like the fans want a younger dude in there being productive. But if an old dude can play the role and can do what he does, I don't really care, especially for a championship team. So
yeah,
not always about like having the youngest, spryest chicken at each position. I mean, you're going to have veterans that fill spots in, and that even goes for the Eagles as well. But yeah, that'll do it for episode 110 of the Paisan Sports Podcast. We will see you guys next week.